this computer. All right, here we go. Hi everybody. I'm Ryan McCollum. I'm here with my dear friend Tito Jackson, and with everybody putting all this content out nowadays, and everybody kind of stuck in the house, I thought this would be something that people might enjoy watching. Tito and I are going to have a really informal conversation about what's up with him. But Tito, for people who don't know, his name's Tito Jackson, a Dorchester native, right, Tito?
Roxbury.
Roxbury native, sorry.
The berry, but not the fruit.
Roxbury native. Tito and I met, I'm kind of giving you a bit of Tito's background, but Tito and I met when I was first in Boston through a buddy named Jamal Jackson. Tito and Jamal went to UNH together. I think they were the only two black people there. But Tito and I became fast friends. And later in life, when and at that point, Tito was a pharmaceutical rep, right? Eli Lilly?
Eli Lilly, yes. Yep.
So Tito was a pharmaceutical rep, had a rep for throwing good parties at the time too. And so later on in life, when I went and worked for Governor Patrick and his administration at the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, there's Tito, and Tito's working.
Work together, yeah.
Tito's working at MOBD as the industry guy for pharmaceuticals and biotech, correct?
It was technology.
Technology.
I tried to get that other gig.
Yeah, and so I'm there as the legislative director, and my man Tito's there, so we became very close again. And so Tito went from being in the office at EOHED to then being Deval Patrick's political director when he ran for re-election. And so Tito caught the political bug. That's been
going around, Ryan.
Yeah, let's not talk about bugs. And so then became District 7?
Yeah, District 7, yep.
District 7, Boston City Councilor, which for folks who don't know, in Boston, it's a full-time gig. And District 7 represents what parts of Boston, Tito?
Roxbury, parts of Dorchester, at that time part of JP, Fenway, South End, and part of Back Bay.
You had Fenway Park. You were Fenway Park's.
I tried. Mike Ross wasn't giving that up when we did.
So you had piece of Fenway.
I was a piece of Fenway over by Symphony. Mike Ross was not trying to have me take Fenway Park. I tried really hard.
So Tito was a very dedicated city councilor. Boston city council races are very, very competitive, and he won. And then Tito ran for mayor, and he ran for mayor against a popular incumbent, right? So Marty Walsh is a very, very well-liked person at a lot of different levels, and
yes.
Tito gave him a bit of a run for his money, and it was never anything personal, right? Tito, it was just he thought the city of Boston needed his leadership, and so Tito ran for mayor of Boston and came up short. But throughout that, or during that, Tito was a loud voice and one of the first voices on legalization of cannabis. And we can talk later about that. But because he was such a prominent voice, some companies approached him, and now that's what you're doing now, right, Tito? I'll let you talk about a little bit what you're doing now, and then we'll get into a recent story of yours.
Cool. I'm honored to get to hang out with you.
Yeah, it's like my first time doing something like this. So
this is really, really cool. East meets West in Massachusetts. So now I actually am CEO and owner of a company called Verdant Medical. And Verdant is a vertically integrated medical as well as recreational cannabis company. And so by vertical integration in our industry, it means that we grow, process, and do retail. So I'm really excited about that. We actually have 2 approvals thus far for local licensure, one in Provincetown and one in a town called Rowley. And we are waiting to hear about our applications in Boston and Somerville. And I just want to be clear that you can only have 3.
Yeah.
So I would only have 3. So I don't want anyone out there, it's a highly regulated industry. So I
Yeah.
don't want anyone to be like, I saw this Zoom call and he's trying to open 80 stores. No, so that's not the case. So we're going to take the be strategic and take the top 3.
Awesome.
And kind of talk about what's happening in the industry now after. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great, and we reconnected a bit after that. I mean, through
Yeah.
that, you were out in Springfield, staying at the crib, getting to know your nephew Fife Dog, and
Yeah, and I need to come out after I'm all better
yeah,
and see my niecey poo.
yeah, Esme, she's waiting for you. So anyway, so we hooked up again on that, and we became even closer. And so Tito, tell us the latest of what's happened with you over the last couple of weeks, and you know,
Yeah.
it's a story I think a lot of people should hear about.
Yeah. So I had on the 14th, I had a couple of things. I wasn't as knowledgeable about what was going on at the time, so I was still I had a friend who was having like a small birthday party. He was doing it under 10 people, and got up that day, was rocking ready to roll. Um, was gonna roll over there around 4, and as I got in the car to go, I started feeling like a little sore throat, and I was like, oh, I just it's sometimes I get cold or allergies this time of year or whatever. So I went to the little birthday party, stayed there about 45 minutes, dropped off the gift, talked to a couple of people. Again, it was under 10 folks who were there. And then I had a friend who was like, hey, I'll make you some soup. So went and grabbed that. And then that night after, when I was headed to bed, I was like, dude, I'm starting to feel like kind of icky. And so what ended up happening was, I then began to have a headache. And then when I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had my t-shirt was like, I sweated through it.
Wow.
So I
And I might
began.
interrupt you throughout. Maybe these are
Yeah.
questions that other people would have.
Yeah.
How long would you say since you first felt that throat, that little bit of a sore throat, to the middle of the night waking up with a soaked shirt?
That was like the same, like that.
Night, yeah. But how many
That's
hours do you think?
yeah. Oh, so that was like 4 o'clock, 12, 1, right? And then so
Like
it was,
8 or 9 hours. So like
yeah,
before 4 o'clock, you hadn't felt anything in your
I
throat.
was cool. I
Yeah.
was cool. I was cool in the gang. I had done just doing some chores. And so excuse me, sorry about that.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening after that was, and so then that's Sunday the 15th now. So
Yeah.
I live I have a 3-story house. You've been here. So I have the master suite that's connected to the bathroom. So I just went ahead and quarantined myself,
Sure.
because I'm like, dude, I'm having, I don't want anyone, if this possibly is COVID-19, I don't want anyone to, be exposed to it in my house. I live here with my family. And so we kind of just set it up. I'm like, yo, I told my nephew, wipe down everything, and I'm just gonna retreat to the room. I will need you to feed me,
Yeah.
which is like one of the semantic pieces that people have to kind
Realize. Yeah.
of figure out and realize. So that Monday, I got these ridiculous body aches and pains in all of my major muscle groups. So like, imagine the flu, you get achy with the flu. This is like an active, throbbing achiness in all of, like, in your legs, lower back, and then like thrusting pain in under my shoulder blades, because what was happening is, as my lungs began to inflame, the pain began to shoot through my back.
Thanks. Okay.
And then
Well, so
uh
let me stop you for a second though. So Sunday was a bad day, but not terrible. Like you like, what's going on in your mind on Sunday? And
so
I'd like to hear more about, like, because I mean, if I have a little tickle, and I'm sure this is everybody's out there being like, fudge. Um, do I have this? And so you're actually sick, and you're actually isolating yourself. And so what's going through your mind on that Sunday?
Yeah, so I'm a pretty, so I'm like, oh, I didn't get so I'm a kind of positive,
Me too.
like,
Yeah.
hey, you should do it or whatever. So I'm like, I'm just I'll deal with it. But what I'm hoping is, I'm hoping I have the flu.
Yep.
Like, I didn't get a flu shot this year. So I'm hoping that's the case. And then if this happens, I just want to keep my mind, like, praying,
Okay.
just because I just keep it right, because I came from, I was in a pharmaceutical space, and by the way, I was a pharmaceutical rep during anthrax, so I remember
Okay.
another like crazy time, for us. And one of the things I also know is, I do not want to be in a hospital, because there's going to be people who are sicker than me,
Yep.
right? And so, in addition, COVID-19 is not the only thing that you can catch in a hospital. You can
Of course.
catch,
Mhm.
there's two types of pneumonia. One is, we call it walking pneumonia, community-acquired pneumonia. You just go home with the pills. There's also something called nosocomial pneumonia, which is hospital-acquired pneumonia, which is MRSA,
Oh yeah.
um, the VRE,
Yeah, you don't get it.
all kinds. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, okay, cool, Lord, please.
Yeah.
We talk a lot. Can this be the flu? I don't, I try,
I get it. And so you weren't thinking about going. I mean, I'm sure it crossed your mind, like, I'm gonna go to the hospital and get a test, but I don't want to go to the hospital because I don't need to get any more sick. So I'm trying to ride this bad boy out.
Yeah.
And
But
so
then,
Monday, and so Chris Cuomo, sorry to cut you off, but Chris Cuomo from CNN, who is
yeah,
COVID-19 positive,
yep.
and my wife had told me, I hadn't seen him say this, but he said it felt like he was getting beaten.
Oh,
Is that what
bro,
it felt like you were getting beaten by people, like pummeled?
dude, you literally, like, I'm like, damn, you know what? I played football games and felt better 2 days after than
Yeah.
I feel right now. Like he was saying, and he also noted the nighttime is much worse than the day. I don't know what it is
Okay.
about that. And so, yeah, you feel like you've actively been beat up, like physically beat up. The other piece is that you also begin to have to have you lose your taste, right? So as you can see, this is a multi-$1,000 figure. There's been hundreds of $1,000s invested into this figure. So you lose your taste and your smell, and you kind of lose your smell when it comes to the flu and stuff. But like, to basically lose all of your taste, and then that Tuesday, like, if everything else wasn't enough, I then began to get shooting pain, sharp shooting pain through my knees and my ankles, and it was kind of like somebody had a laser pointer and was like zapping me through. Like, it
It's
was.
amazing to what the human mind will like think about. Like, that feels like somebody had a laser pointing at you and zapping you. Like, that wouldn't hurt. But you're talking about an actual laser.
With a real laser, not pointer, but like, they actually had, some
Yeah.
Dr. Evil type laser, and they were just doing it on purpose to hurt a brother, right? So that piece like really got to me, and so that day I called my doctor. So I'm like, yo, bro, and my doctor's cool. He's cool as hell. He's Dr. Ferranti. He's over at the at Carney Hospital. So he's like, listen. Yeah, Mr. Jackson, I see you have not taken your flu shot. I was like, yeah, bro, I know.
You need to do that, bro.
Thank you very much.
Let's make that a public service announcement. Number
So
one,
next year, I will be taking my flu shot.
everybody should get a flu shot.
I promise Ryan McCollum and Dr. John Ferranti. Yes, we're good. So he says, well, listen, let me go ahead and treat you, proactively for the flu. So he gave me a prescription. My nephew went and grabbed it for me, called of this stuff called Tamiflu, which is what you get when you get the flu. So and I don't know why this happened or how this happened, and it's also